Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited. I am Dr. Sonia Toledo, and I am from Dignity of Children. And I thought that this topic would be a very important topic to talk about in the nonprofit sector. Um, I met I met the team from Dynamic Management Services a few months ago, and they were telling me about guardrails. And I was like, what? Governance? And I didn't understand what was going on. But after I finished their segment, I realized that this is important information that every nonprofit should be considering looking into. So here we are. We have a panel from the Dynamic Management Services that is going to share with us what are some of, things that we need to think about. What are some of the issues that are happening right now with the nonprofit in with AI, and also how could we move forward? How could we be responsible with integrity moving forward in this changing element that we have no control over right now? So I am very happy to introduce the team, and I'm going to start with Deborah, and then you could just keep moving forward. We have one more panelist that we're waiting for, and he should be on shortly. Deborah?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Toledo. Thank you for having us, and thank you for having the confidence in the DMS team to help your sector, the private and for-profit sector especially, that often lacks resources to navigate this changing landscape of AI implementation. And DMS is a multidisciplinary team of myself. I have strategic planning background, significant experience in working with nonprofits in the public sector, as well as working as a consultant in the field of diversity, equity, and inclusion initially. And most recently, transplanting into my own business here with the Dynamic Management Services as a co-founder with Brian Porter, and using those skills and knowledge that I have, my background, to help organizations leverage effective strategy for implementing technologies, emerging technologies such as AI. And this has been our focus for the past year and a half. We've been doing this in a data-driven way, conducting a lot of research, some of which we'll talk about today during this webinar, surveys that we've done in the sector with the nonprofit organizations, as well as having forums and testing out people's awareness and knowledge about an aspect of AI that's not often discussed, but very, very important, which is AI governance. And with that, I'll pass it on to Javed Sajad in the meantime, our AI governance expert, to introduce himself.
Welcome everyone to our presentation today. We're building trust in the age of AI. So with my experience, I've worked as an attorney at law in technology law, and I have worked for 10 years, almost 10 years at the Attorney General's office and in Trinidad and Tobago, and also working with cybersecurity, data protection, then leaving for Norway, where I specialized in artificial intelligence and working with AI governance, which I will explain that concept of AI governance and artificial intelligence and guardrails and all this fun stuff that we need for our organization to harness the potential and innovation of AI. And working with data protection laws throughout the USA, and each state has different types of laws. How could we really make our use of AI, marketable, profitable, and productivity? And these are the sort of things that we will look at. And through my experience and through the lens of what I have done with different types of organizations thus far. And I see that Brian Porter is here, so I will hand it over to him and you will hear from me a bit more later.
Thank you, Javed. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. So my name's Brian Porter. I have over 30 years experience in corporate America, accounting, finance, and business strategy roles. And currently I teach at a university where I teach business strategy and an undergrad and graduate level. So my specialty is looking at the organization and developing ways that we can help an organization develop a competitive advantage. And you might think, well, if I'm a nonprofit, why do I really need a competitive advantage? But there's a couple of reasons. One is to sustain the longevity of your organization, you need some nuances to help innovation incorporated with an overall strategy to stay on your path, to make sure that you're really delivering a great product or great service for your community. The other reason is that funding has gotten more difficult. Grants, we can't rely on traditional funding sources that we used to. That's becoming more difficult and challenging to get. And whether it's grants or other funding that you try and apply for, those funders are looking for an ROI, a return on your investment. Why is it important? They want to make sure that the money that they're giving out is generating the largest impact for the community. And having a strategy helps with that to make sure that you're enhancing all of your services, you're identifying other services that would help serve the needs of your community, and that you're delivering the largest impact that you can.
Yeah.
And while we look at business strategy, innovation is tied very strongly into business strategy. And whether you're implementing our AI tools or we're doing a comprehensive strategy assessment for you, we still look at ways to help you develop competitive advantage. And in the result of all of that is helping you have a more efficient and greater impact for your community, makes employees feel better about what they're doing, everyone is aligned, and hopefully makes you feel better as far as your community and the services that you're providing for them.
Brian,
So
you
thank
guys
you.
have, sorry to interrupt you, Brian, but you guys have such a wealth of information. I'm excited to find out. I know that you did a survey, which I helped populate through our contact list in the nonprofit sector in the last maybe 2 or 3 months since August. So I'm really curious to see what are some of your results of what are nonprofits saying about how prepared they are with the AI.
Yes, so I'll take this part. We were happy that we joined partnership with you, Dr. Toledo, with the Dignity of Children. We really wanted this survey to go out to nonprofits, leadership specifically, to assess kind of where they are in terms of their implementation of AI awareness and so on of the governance piece that we are focused on. So here's some of the results that we had. At least 50% of organizations, and I'll give you a quick background. We had very large organizations participating in this survey, organizations with more than 50 employees, organizations with more than 250,000 budget and up to quite a few millions. And we had leadership answer these questions. So keep that in mind in terms of the organizational details. About 50% out of this question, are you aware of your staff using AI in your organization? If this is a concerning data point for us, right? About 50% either not sure or no, right? Are not aware of their employees using AI. And I will tell you why this is a concerning data point for us as we move along. One of the biggest barriers that we got from the results of the survey is, first of all, lack of clarity of use cases. And you might want to, and people can choose multiple options in this one in terms of some of the biggest barriers to implementing AI for their organization. Lack of clarity of use cases, really kind of how we do this, how when we implement AI, how we then see whether it's an effective tool. Mr. Porter talked about ROI, kind of really doing it in a very practical way. So the clarity around the use cases was super concerning in terms of biggest barriers. but also lack of internal expertise. So that training is really important for organizations. So that's a major barrier for organizations, as well as privacy and ethical concerns. So later on in the survey, we'll see that people are aware that there are ethical concerns in AI, in the use of AI, but really kind of how does that translate into the practical use of it? And then, of course, the resistance to change. We are nonprofit organizations in this community, so there is resistance to change. We've got a traditional way of doing things. So emerging technologies could be very daunting to some of us, and especially when we look at different aspects of the organization. Leadership may want to do it, but we may find that resistance in other places, or sometimes the resistance is in leadership, right? So what is your awareness about AI risk and its categories? And we see a whole span, and this is where that data point comes in, that if you look at the bias column, yes, there's a high aware, uh, sorry, the ethical column, there is a high awareness of ethical concerns, but the bias column, there is a lack of awareness of bias. So flip that, what I just said. Overall risk as well, people are fairly aware of overall risk. And we see the safety risk as well, that people are aware. The conversations have been around risk in general and across the sectors, that there are risks involved in it. So that's good. That's good to an extent that we are aware of some of the risk, but there are different types of risk, as this chart shows, right? The ethical, safety, and bias. And we think these are the most important risks for nonprofit organizations whose stakeholders are very they're important, critical, the privacy concerns, etc., is very critical for organizations. And then when we come to the understanding of what AI governance is, we see that people understand to an extent that there are accountability, transparency, and trust factors that impact the implementation of AI, but a lot of people have indicated that they're really not aware. A lot of organizations, leadership in your organization is saying that they're not really aware of AI governance and how that impacts the implementation. So that's just a snapshot of what we really thank those who may be in this webinar today for participating in that leadership survey. This really drives our strategy, how we meet you where you are in terms of what your level of awareness is and what your barriers are to have the leverage this technology in a safe way with a good strategy.
We know that we're just touching the surface right now, and AI is continuously changing every day. And I'm very curious to know, you know, what is AI governance and why should we care right now? Um, I'm really curious to see what you guys think about, how does this impact the nonprofit sector?
And thank you for that, Dr. Toledo, for that. I would now guide us through what this AI governance concept is about, because if 53.5% of organizations, a bit unsure about this AI governance concept and what it can do for your organization, I will now share my screen where we will have a guide, if you will, to see what this AI governance is about, what safety is about, what are ethics, what biases can come through, how we can prevent it as much as we can, how we can mitigate risks as much as we can, because risk mitigation is one of the big things that we're concerned about when we're serving vulnerable communities and underserved communities. And even if you're in the private sector, you would want to know that your customers, your end user, is not impacted by AI, which can now impact your profits, if you're in the private sector. So to begin with, I want to say to everyone with us, and I always say on all my panels, is that AI is here. It is here to stay. I know there is, in our statistics, we saw some resistance to change. And I understand that why in nonprofits there will be resistance to change as opposed to the private sector where they have to change to keep up with market. And the AI segments that you're seeing on screen, generative AI, predictive AI, agentic AI, all of the things, all of these iterations of and forms of AI exist and will continue to exist. It's just like when the internet began, People were skeptical about using the internet. If they're the young ones in the room with us who remember the beginning of the internet and dial-up internet and stuff like that, the internet stayed and it stayed with us and it improved lives. And of course, there's always the pros and cons, but we need to have the policies and the relevant infrastructure to deal with risk, to mitigate those risks. And that's where the concept of AI governance will come up now. So when we look at what types of AI, generative AI, where some of us are using it already, ChatGPT, maybe using it through Google, you're even using it if you use Siri. Siri defaults to ChatGPT and predictive AI. These are more sophisticated within big companies. They use it, and it could be even used in fraud detection if your organization is big on that. Agentic AI, which is emerging and it's here. I think OpenAI recently launched a browser called Atlas using agentic AI, but it's definitely here and it's going to be growing. And then they're going to have quantum AI, which I haven't put here, but I don't want to saturate us because there's so many forms. And agentic AI is systems that can act autonomously on instructions. Quantum AI is a whole new pool of AI. But as I said, AI is here to stay and it's how we leverage it and how we use it.
Mhm.
So how does AI manifest in our workplace? And we saw that there was a big percentage that said that they were already using AI, and that's our own survey that Dr. Toledo would have sent out. But based on the information that's out there, and you will see here to the left of the screen that 78% of organizations reported using AI in 2024. And that was a Stanford 2025 AI Index report that reported that. And 1 in 3 Americans have tried ChatGPT, but having AI through Siri and all these other mobile services, you come into contact with AI regardless. And it's in your email because Gmail summarizes and Outlook does these things. So Copilot is always there and the AI is always around us. So
It is.
it comes into forms with hiring and HR, customer
Mhm.
operations, finance and risk, safety and security, and productivity. These are some of the forms that will come in here, and you will see later on, I will show you a bit more of what it comes into forms into your organization, how it could directly impact you. Is your workplace ready for this AI? What can it do? In Pew Research, 4 in 10 workers who have used AI chatbots for work say that these tools have been extremely or very helpful in allowing them. So, AI is here. It can benefit you. It will benefit you, but how do you use it safely and responsibly? And this is why workers say they feel worried about AI. These are the largest surveys. And our surveys even indicate that the nonprofit surveys that we did, AI may be used in the workplace in the future. The impact AI can amplify productivity and consistency, but it also amplify errors because we have to make sure and ensure that there's no hallucinations, that the human involvement is always there, the human oversight, the human in the loop as DMS does, and that we don't want to have misinformation through those hallucinations coming through. And there's adoption that is outpacing policy because we are quick to adopt, but we want to ensure that our policies internal keep up with that. And that's why we design these forward and backward compatible policies that will help you really leverage the technology. And we want to have an accountability aspect, and leaders always remain responsible. So as leaders of organizations, we need to ensure that we have the right policies for accountability and transparency. So this is what employees are thinking about in their risk awareness. And this was done by McKinsey. So we want to give you that large data to show that while our survey is indicating same, that there is also concern out there about equity and fairness, where we see 30%, but 51%, interestingly, and this is another thing that's coming up big, is cybersecurity. And if we have technical teams with us here, we'll know that cybersecurity is a big issue with organizations generally, but with AI, there's also a cybersecurity issue there with larger organizations. And inaccuracy will always be one of the prominent featuring factor of AI risk. And privacy, because data is what AI lives off. So if we're serving vulnerable populations, we want to know that they are protected, their data are protected, and it's not given out, and they're impacted negatively by this. So, and we will see other factors here as we go along. So then we come to the concept of AI governance. So AI governance is a set of policies and practices and frameworks designed to ensure that AI systems are developed and used responsibly, ethically, fairly, and lawfully. Within AI governance, and I will come back to data protection and privacy, that is an aspect of AI governance, because without data, again, there's no AI. AI lives off of our data. We need to be compliant with this sort of law. And depending on your state, because New Jersey, DMS operates from New Jersey. And in New Jersey, we have the New Jersey Data Protection Act, for example, and you have to be compliant with that. But not only the New Jersey Data Protection Act, based on your community that you serve, or your clients, or your end user, you will have to know about HIPAA compliance, and you will see that I have the American with Disabilities Act here. So there's federal law as well that you will have to be compliant with depending on what data you're using. And it's specific compliance, healthcare compliance, education. Just last week we with organization in New York that serve public schools at K-12, and we would have seen legislation there that protected the kids, minors. AI law compliance is really based on state, and data protection is based on state, and there's other federal laws as well that we have to be cognizant of when using AI. And from AI governance, we develop guardrails. And these guardrails are policies and processes and technical controls that act as safety barriers to ensure AI systems operate safely, ethically, and within predefined legal and organizational boundaries. And those guardrails is the protection barrier from those. This is what we will use to mitigate the risks. So why does it matter? These guardrails matter because we want to prevent here. We will see fairness and non-discrimination. These are some of the risks that come out, but in leveraging AI, but we can prevent those and mitigate those and have transparency and explainability, like I mentioned above, before, accountability and human oversight, security and resilience, reputational and legal risks, and preventing the stifling of innovation and transformation, because we want to have transformation, we want to have innovation, because as I said, AI is here and we want to leverage it for good. AI governance, how we build it, is complying, using standards, because California right now is bringing out their law for AI. But if you operate in a different state, if you operate in California, there's compliance aspect with the law there. If you operate internationally, there's also the European Union AI Act. And if you operate within state, then we do standards. And this is from the National Institute of Standards that we formulate this governance and guardrails for you to be safe, and using best practices of UNESCO, which is the United Nations, and other international bodies that create these sort of standards to help you govern, manage, measure, and map your risk. So
Yeah.
when we think about real world examples, this is some of the things that, where can you implement it? Where can you really have safe ones? Use chatbots to provide personalized support, create accessible materials for people with disabilities, generate tailored marketing, because a lot of organizations want to know that they have great marketing campaigns from their data and not have their data used unsafely. Analyze donation to improve fundraising, minus my error there. And fundraising is a big thing for nonprofits as well. And we want to leverage AI for that. And the
Yeah.
governance, tactics, and guardrails. These are the sort of guardrails that we want to have: risk assessment, ethical guidelines, data protection, and impact monitoring. This is how we leverage it safely. And at
Yes.
DMS, we do the responsible AI framework, where we saw the human in the loop policies and early risk assessment and ongoing monitoring, and focusing on people, process, and technology.
Wow. So it's not only giving us an insight, but a eye-opening. It's extremely eye-opening to understand how in depth this goes, and also to understand that it depends on where you're operating. So I really appreciate that information from what's happening in New Jersey and California and even in New York and the school districts. So it's important for everyone to know that we're still learning, right? We're still in the process of learning. And I know that Deborah has an exercise for us. I think this is going to be a very critical exercise where the audience gets to do a readiness survey assessment for themselves. So there's a link that's in on chat, and I'm going to pass it on to Deborah so she could explain to us this exercise we're going to do live.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Toledo. So hopefully you have the link by now and you'll be able to click the link and access this form. And this is what will come up for you. It's a very brief. We have only 4 multiple choice questions and a very short answer question here. Javed just spoke about map, measure, manage, and govern. It's kind of our approach for our responsible AI framework, and that we use the principles of the NIST standards, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, to align the work that we do, the guardrails that we help customize with you to address your AI governance needs and AI implementation needs. So this is a quick, there are 4 categories. Let us know if you're having any issues with it, but hopefully you'll be able to assess this and select one of these. Governance and roles. Does your organization have clear ownership and policies for the AI tools that you're using in your organization? Most of you are using it. Some of you aren't. But if you aren't using it, just say no clear policies, because obviously you won't have any. But if you are using AI already, do you have clear defined roles and policies, or partially? Choose one of those. For data, responsibilities, and privacy, before using AI tools, does your organization review what data is accessed and where it goes, and whether it includes sensitive beneficiary information? Javed spoke about that. It could be HIPAA, it could be FERPA, it could be any of those compliance laws, or any other law, data points that's really sensitive data for your stakeholders. So you check one of these. Always you do that, always that's great, or sometimes, or rarely, or never. In terms of equity and inclusion, very important for our nonprofit organizations, right? For not just the work that you deliver, but the people that you serve, as well as your internal workplace, right? Ethical equity and inclusion. Does your organization consider whether the AI tools could introduce bias or accessibility barriers for the communities internally or externally? So yes, you test for that, or sometimes you do informally, or no, you haven't. So if you can answer that question for us. I see some responses coming in. We'll go to the answers in a second. Capacity and training. How confident is your team or organization in using AI tools responsibly? And that comes with building your capacity through training, policies, etc., right? And so that could be all inclusive there. High, we've trained or briefed our staff, have those guidelines, etc., to guide your staff. Moderate, if you have done it experimentally, or low, with little awareness and guidance. And then the last question is open-ended. What is your organization's next step for AI? So this gives you a flavor of kind of the categories and some of the initial questions DMS will work with your organization on when we're doing a full assessment, full readiness assessment for your organization. It's only a small flavor, but for this purpose of this forum here, we wanted to give you a quick exposure to it. If you go to the responses in terms of governance rules, we see no one yet has answered that yes, they have defined roles and policies that exist, right? So many people are just in the beginning stages of using AI. So clear defined roles and policies, we see no one yet having, those policies in place. In terms of data responsibilities and privacy, before using an AI tool, do you assess for that? We see no one yet saying, yes, we always do, right? Again, concerning, but maybe it's because you don't have that clear defined strategy. Yes, you haven't done your readiness assessments. You haven't done the work that goes into, or that should go into assessing whether your organization is really fully ready to implement AI in a responsible way. So equity and inclusion, does your organization consider whether AI tools introduce bias and accessibility? And I'm so happy to see some people answering yes to this. This is really, really a big concern for our nonprofit stakeholders, right? We really we really have heard stories in the media about bias, and especially in generative AI tools where the hallucinations related to misinformation, but also the bias that's you can get in your output and your results. Asking for a photo of someone of color can be challenging sometimes because some generative AI tools haven't used to train their algorithm on
Mhm.
quite equitable data sources, if you will, data
Yes.
points, if you will. Capacity and training, how confident is your team in using AI responsibly, high, moderate, low, but so we see more moderate and low confidence here. And again, it's because in most cases, the lack of guidance, the lack of training and policies certainly that align with the safe and responsible implementation of AI. And yeah, we're saying, what is your organization's next step? Some really nice answers. I'm working on creating clear data use and AI policy. I think training is needed ASAP. Very, very true. We do that at DMS. Once we craft the policies that align with your needs, your organization, the training aligns with that, along with the framework that we use. So, it's evidence-based. We need to urgently look into implementing guardrails. I agree full-heartedly with that. Our team does. We seen it more and more where this awareness kind of training that we're doing leads to people understanding why governance with guardrails is absolutely critical for organizations to mitigate those critical risks that we can get from AI. So we had our first AI think tank this week. Excellent. Great to hear whoever this organization is that. That's awesome. We want to develop policies and protocols. We're here to help you with that. You might have your internal policy people. They want to talk to us about working through the specific guidance on AI specifically. We're happy to help you with that. So we have sort of customizable approach in serving your organizations. And again, it's because we have this dynamic team of like AI governance expert who has world recognition in the work that he's doing. Javed, you follow him on LinkedIn, you would see all the awesome forums that he's participating in. We also have the business strategy and planning experts with us, and our sensitivity to nonprofits. We'll be looking at AI tools to help us serve the community more impactfully. That is, the competitive advantage we want to give your organization, and we want to help your organization leverage with safe AI. We regularly assess which tools work best for operations. Good to hear, and I'm beginning to provide training for your staff. Very good. We need to learn more about using AI and equity, and we have not discussed any policies regarding that. And don't feel terrible about it if this is you, right? Be happy that you're part of this forum and that you continue to also inform and educate yourself on what this is like, especially if you're part of the leadership. If you're not part of the leadership, you go back to your leadership and let them know what you've learned in this forum. You reach out to us, you follow us, and you have a conversation with us as well, and we'll be happy to help you navigate those uncertain waters.
And Debbie, I think it's great if they could they share this with their if they go back to their organization and say, take this assessment yourself, just so you could
Yeah.
get an idea of what it is to consider. I think the eye-opening for me is those guardrails and the governance of us having policies, but also being able to say, okay, are we operating with ethics on inclusiveness and equity? So this is very exciting. I'm so great that you were able to do this assessment live with us, because it definitely has people walk away with something to think about. Um,
Okay. And we can definitely share this, but this again was just a flavor of it. I mean, this
um,
doesn't really get you into the details that you will really need to have to drive policies, etc. So this is just
uh,
giving you a flavor of what we start with. But I can certainly share that if you don't have access to it after the webinar, let us know and we can share it with you. We also on our website, which we'll talk about later on, have these tools and some access to some of this information.
Absolutely, absolutely. This has been a wealth of information. I would like an opportunity to do some questions from the audience, from the participants, and see, what are they thinking right now? What's coming up for them? So let's see if we have any questions come up. Let me give you a couple of seconds to write something on chat. Uh, okay. So I have a question. Okay, let's talk about what tools does DMS know about to help organizations leverage AI effectively? So yeah, it's directly to you guys. What tools do you recommend to leverage AI?
So I'll start, and if anyone on the team wants to jump in, please feel free to do so. We have, as I mentioned before, a whole comprehensive approach to what we call our academy. So if you go to our website, we have tools along the strategic planning approach, things that you would consider worksheets and tools that you would use to kind of start your planning for implementing this technology. Whether you're developing a strategy for overall for just implementing AI, which would be a specific strategy you want to develop, or whether it's a larger part of a strategic planning exercise. So we have some tools and resources there that can help you as well. In under business strategy, we have some customized tools that could be customized for your organization that leads you as well to developing your overall business strategy to leverage our competitive advantage that Mr. Porter spoke about earlier on, as well as to understand your approach to get the best ROI out of your implementation of AI, if that's your main objective. And I can pass it on to Javed to talk a little bit more of other AI tools that we have to leverage for implementing AI specifically. So I think, Javed, maybe the biggest one is the readiness assessment.
Yeah, it will be the readiness assessment as tools, but we have variations of in terms of recommending vendor tools, which is third party on the market.
Yeah.
The thing is that, as DMS, we do not say that use this big tech tool, it's safe, because remember, all of those companies out there have various policy and usage policies. So if you use something from one of those big tech branded companies and you think it may be safe, it depends on what policies they have in place, because what DMS does is to give you the tool of, this is our policy, this is how our staff should use it, this is what they should be aware of, this is how you should prompt it to get an inclusive sort of outcome. And so our policies and guardrails are the tools that help this. And I know Brian is especially excited about this too, because he was talking to us earlier about it, and about what he thinks about tools and stuff like that. So I know, Brian, you would have something to say as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Javed. So the tools that we develop on the first part is as far as safety goes, you're not putting your information out there to the big AI companies. Your data stays protected within your organization. You have control over that data that you put into our AI tools. And what we do with this assessment, we also look at a workflow assessment, and we identify areas where you have bottlenecks or what we refer to as pain points, and find areas where AI tools can help you either improve your processes or improve the impact on the communities that you serve. And those we implement those tools for time saving techniques, but also to leverage a greater impact on your overall organizational strategy. And
Mhm.
as I said, those tools, this data is safe. So if you have to abide by HIPAA or FERPA regulations, you can be confident that your data is secure. And you don't you know a lot of these AI tools that are out there from big organizations, you have no control over what happens to your data once it grabs or you enter your data into that system. So I think the biggest component is the data security, but it also helps you be more efficient, which helps improve the impact of the communities that you're serving.
That's awesome. This is really good. I didn't understand that DMS has tools that could be
Mhm.
used, and it has these guardrails already. That's amazing.
Yeah,
So we do have
sorry.
some.
I'm sorry, we built our own, we could build our own customizable tool for you. So moving from the planning resources I spoke about earlier to the AI tool, the tool that's the chatbot tool that can sit on your current system, leverage your internal data, but keep it secured the way we built it for you. And you can get that effectiveness of your own internal built tool for with our guidelines built into it. So
That's
yeah, we're
awesome.
very excited about that part of our work.
And it definitely speaks to how an organization is going to take on creating governance in their organization. So thank you for that. We do have some more questions. Joseph, any advice on preparing for embodied AI? Is that a term? Do you know?
Um, well, if this is from Joseph, right? Joseph. Joseph, if I correct in my inference about embodied AI is that you're talking about AI into robots. And
Yeah.
fun
Okay.
fun fact, if that's what you're referring to, and I did robot regulation while I was in Norway.
Yeah.
And that was a couple years ago. They were seeking to regulate robots and autonomy of robots. I know AI is becoming a thing with robots right now, and how I just recently saw a video, very touching video, where a robot was helping an elderly person. It's a video out of China, and it shows the robot helping the person to get out of bed, helping them with meals, helping them get down the stairs and stuff like
Wow.
that. And I think that, with technology, in our history of humanity, technology can be used good and bad. Because I also, while I did robot regulation, I did something called lethal autonomous weapon systems, and where weapon systems can be autonomous, and they were one of the things is that using robots to expand the theater of war. And so, there's always, just like the internet, how the internet, and I always draw references to the internet, how the internet was leveraged for good. And here we are using internet technology to bring us together, to learn, to harness the potential of the good potential of it. And I do think that robots can serve humanity good. It will be regulated. There are regulations coming forward. In the United States, I think California might be the first one to consider that type of law. In the European Union, yes, they have that coming forward, and they are considering it immediately, because it's something that it's one of the waves that will come at us after having settled on just
Mhm.
us grappling with ChatGPT.
Yes.
And so embodied AI, we examine it further, and Joseph, if you have any further inquiries into it, we could really talk it out, and like what you think more about it and how you see it happening, and where we could go with it as well.
Now,
Absolutely.
just add to that to the ethical and the ethical and bias concerns are really high with that type of AI, right? Because if it's directly going to serve and interact with human beings, we want to make sure that these guardrails are built into any kind of products that we will have interacting with other human beings. As per the example that Javed gave with the robot helping someone. So if you're a nonprofit, a lot of large nonprofits answered our survey, and if they're here today, your nonprofit have the type of resources that you're looking forward to implementing those things, there would be, so much that you'll have to consider, right? Obviously, you would not want to implement this without
Yeah.
going through those really detailed steps of making sure that you have all those protections, safety, things in place before your testing begins, before your pilot testing begins.
Awesome. We do have some more questions. Jenny, I'm concerned about the environmental impact of AI data center. How do you think about that in your workplace?
So we
Um,
just had a
I,
meeting. Sorry.
uh,
Sorry, Brian, go ahead.
I just want to say one word about that is, so in these AI tools, it doesn't that we build does not require the computing power that these larger Chat GPT or other Microsoft, Google platforms require. And it is a concern because of not just the energy, but the water that's required to cool down those servers and those data centers is extreme. So these smaller um, custom AI products don't require that much power as the larger programs do, which I think is, what we like to see is not having, these large programs, but smaller programs that aren't as heavy in consuming power, um, and damaging the environment in the long term.
Okay.
I just want to add, we met with the state of New Jersey and we talked about, and then Javed, I want to kick it over to you because you were really the researcher in this area as well. But that's one of the things that New Jersey is looking. I know we have a gubernatorial race coming up. It's one of the things, power, the use of the cost of power here in New Jersey, electric power, is really a big concern, and it's really having an impact on our grid here in New Jersey, and that's why we're seeing electric bills going up. Would you have to talk a couple minutes about this, if you would, because you have a lot of knowledge on how overall data centers are impacting the environment.
Yeah, I do agree that these things are absorbing a lot of our power. Even here, in New Jersey, we are concerned about that and what it can do to the grid and what it can do to the environment and how it will impact human beings. I can give the reason why I go back to Norway a lot is because I live there and I understand the environment, and they're very protective of their environment, as we are all protective of our environment presently because of what's going on with our environments. And in Norway, they started a project called Stargate, because Norway has immense potential with sustainable energy. And they're in the north, right? So their water is going to be cold all the way, always. So they can cool their centers down sustainably. And they have a lot of natural resources, sustainable resources in terms of the wind, the coolness of the air, where they position the data center, a lot of hydroelectric power. And those are the things that when we talk to the state of New Jersey, they were looking into to like how to develop sustainable practices around it. But what I think is because we have this urgency into sustainability for AI, is that we will have to get to a point in terms of looking at the bigger picture where companies look at less impact on the environment, where we can create an AI that uses less of this energy, because the next step of powering data centers and stuff like this for bigger companies, this is like the big tech companies that are out there, will be nuclear energy. And that's a talk that they have right now about powering it. But for us right now, the end user, what can we do to, be sustainable is, as Brian was saying, is that, have these smaller systems, a smaller depletion of our resources and impact on the environment. And continue to look into the sustainable ways that it's implemented. Because in Canada as well, in terms of state data cannot leave the state. But if we could have, Canada has also immense, sustainability practices with the type of environment that they have, with the energy that they use, and we can have data centers built around that for now until we can find a way that we can, use AI sustainably. Because it is, as I said, it is here, the big tech companies are manufacturing it out and expanding it out, and it's on our environment right now. So it's just how we leverage it, and how, just like safety and ethics and bias, is how we leverage it sustainably. And that's also, I've been to a lot of United Nations forums where this comes up all the time, the impact, because as we know, one of the sustainable developmental goals of the United Nations is climate change and climate impact. And this comes up a lot. And let me tell you, it's something that they're focusing on. And we, as for the nonprofits and to the person who asks that question, it's to look into the big techs and see accountability for sustainability. And that's
Yeah.
one way you can get going. But for us on our end, we try to use it in a sustainable way, and how we use it, just like Brian explained, with a smaller footprint until we have a more sustainable approach.
Wow, that we got a lot of work to do. We solve one problem, we create more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's another question that I would like to, Jenny said, thank you. Yeah, it was a very in-depth answer. Thank you. Is there a way, Lorraine is asking, is there a way to create a dummy AI system to see where there may be glitches or issues that will cause breaches in the future? Just talking made up information or test it.
Okay, I could
I,
take this because
okay.
before you go ahead, Brian, because this is sound like something that I've been working on for years when we talk about a testing environment. Um, And we proposed it for a 2.0 version. It's a testing environment. We call it Sandbox. And
Mhm.
this is something that we propose to the state and we propose to organizations as well. But a sandbox takes participation. What a sandbox is it's a testing environment. It's just a framing of what it is. They're what we call the term sandbox. If you Google AI sandbox, it will come up. And this is you don't necessarily have to create a dummy AI. You can actually use an AI that's on the market, test it against policies, test it against the
Good idea.
parameters which you want to set, where if you want to look for glitches or issues, or breaches in the future, because the predictability index of AI is not a good one because it will continue to change. It will continue to manifest different things and iterations because we have two ends right now that we're focusing: hallucination by AI and psychosis by human beings. When hallucination came out of AI, this was the AI itself hallucinating. Psychosis of AI is the end user suffering at the hands of AI. And this is what drives our children, our kids to be reliant on AI. And then we look at the mental health aspect, and this is the psychosis of AI. So this sandbox environment is how we want to test these situations. And it will be really spectacular if we get a bunch of nonprofits or even private sector together and we create that sandbox. We can host it in New Jersey, and we
New
all come
York, there's
together.
a lot of New York.
Or New York, right across the river. Make
Yes.
Yeah, I would love to be in a big city to have that, New York emboldens the powerful,
Yeah.
so so we can definitely do something like that. And I know Brian is eager to tell us about more about testing as well. But that's one of the things that DMS worked and is working on, that sandbox testing environment.
Mhm. Right. Thank you, Jeff. Why you spoke about a larger environment. I just wanted to mention that our AI tools also incorporate guardrails, governance, and cybersecurity. We also have a cybersecurity expert on our team where we can set not only policies for AI guardrails, but also for cybersecurity. And the tools that we build are tested very heavily with security, cybersecurity, and with the guardrails. So we do take that very important and really test all of our products before anything is rolled out.
And I'll add one more thing. Our partnership is very important to DMS, and we have had discussions with other partners of technical products. We've talked to at least one other entity that has a technical product that they can do that very, very exact thing that question Lorraine, I think, is asking. They can come in and see where the weaknesses are in your data flows in your systems or in the particular AI implementation tool that you're using, and give you a report on that to improve your practices or improve the tools that you're using. So we have our team, but we also leverage a lot of other partners that does work that enhances the work that we do and help organizations with those needs.
Awesome. Wow. I do have another question. This one is coming from me. Ooh, I hear backup. Um, I want to talk about productivity, because I know, even for myself and my company, I'm excited because I feel like I'm more productive. Who do you use? What AI products do you use for boosts of productivity?
So we have on our website, for instance, we have our own tool, the DMS Brain, and that's our internal tool that we built. which leverages our customers and does not necessarily have to talk to us, but they can go into our DMS tool feature on our website and search for any of the things that we offer, any of our services. We've fed a lot of that into our tool, and so we don't necessarily have to answer some of your basic primary questions on what we offer, what is our approach, what is safe AI, etc. Like we leverage that tool very much to improve our productivity in DMS, and that has been really super helpful. I think, especially for first-time visitors to our website, of people who just want to know a little bit more before they contact us to ask us small questions. So that's our real good competitive edge, if you will, here in implementing our own AI tool, our DMS Brain. Check it out if you haven't already.
Yeah, and I will fly on from that and springboard from that conversation as well to talk about productivity quickly because I know we're coming to time and tell you guys that I know that a lot of organizations has a lot of data, a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of information. What we do is design a tool if you to when you have this heavy lifting of data in a safe environment. If we think about a cone, we put the data in, we filter it in, and you want to develop an answer from your data, and you don't want to have to go through sifting through thousands and thousands of your information to develop a campaign, to develop a donation campaign or fundraising, or you want to have to develop a prediction of like a cost of something if you're in the private sector. And this is the sort of tool that we envision for productivity that we're beta testing. And we want to design that tool to help you with productivity and your back end of how much information that you have to lift rather than doing it manually, but using a secure environment to help, we call it an AI cleanup. And in that way, that tool can help you with your productivity and getting more accurate answers than what's on the market. And moreover, rather than using a market vendor tool where your data goes out into the general environment, although they say that your data doesn't. But when we
Yeah.
think about what the AI is, it's an algorithm absorbing data, and the algorithm is generally a big thing that absorbs your data. So how can you tell me my data is anonymous? I'm not sure. But logically, when you think about it, so that's why DMS came up with this tool that you want to harness the potential of your data and bring it in and get answers from it. That's productivity. And then, of course, there's the vendor tools that you can design presentations, you can design graphics, because I know Dr. Toledo does a lot of that, and AI can help with driving campaigns and the wording of it, even drafting emails. But at the end of the day, what we want is safety, and we want responsibly, and we want to know how to do it, because we don't want to send out something in a campaign and that it impacts the community in a negative way because we then prompted it in a safe way. So we want to have those policies and usage policies when we're using AI.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
It-
powerful. Wow, I really feel, do you want to add to that, Brian?
Yes, I would. I know we have 2 minutes left, so I'll be
Yes.
short. Another functionality of our tool is a lot of times you have multiple systems that do not speak together. And it takes a lot of man hours to get information from one system to another and try and aggregate that information. One of our tools speaks to both or multiple different systems and will aggregate that data and allow you to very easily grab information from that, no matter what kind of question you want to prompt. It can use data out of multiple systems, which
Yeah.
reduces a lot of man hours that you have to do to grab that data and try and put it into a single database. And that time saving helps you do what you do better, which
Yeah.
is serve your population.
Yeah, your clients. And that's very powerful, and it's hopeful. I really believe that this conversation is supporting us to move forward with a very safe and hopeful opportunity to use these tools, these AI tools, but also considering that we need to make sure that our communities are safe. So why don't you wrap this up and tell us how we could get in touch with you and keep connecting and having these great conversations.
Thank you, Dr. Toledo. Thank you so much for this session. It was awesome. The dynamic back and forth and discussion was awesome. Good to hear from the audience as well in terms of their concerns and questions, not just about the work that we do, but certainly things that they're interested in. And I like the environmental impact one. You know, that was not something we had in our presentation today with our sensitization, but that's kind of the top of the list for those of us who are concerned about how AI is impacting our environment negatively. So because we have this expertise, Javed participating in all these different forums, we have an awareness of all the different issues across the board. So follow him on LinkedIn, find Javed Sajad on LinkedIn. That would be my first recommendation. He's awesome. Our website is strategydms.com. Please visit our website. You can also email us at info@strategydms. And my personal email is, business email is deborah.s@strategydms. All of us, I think, Brian, Javed, we all use our first name and first letter for our last name at Strategy DMS if you want to email any one of us, and we'll be happy to hear from you.
And just one more question. Are you still receiving surveys for your research?
So the leadership survey, the one that we presented data on, I think we've closed that one out, but we will relaunch at some point because we want to follow the data over a timeline. So
Yes.
see how perceptions have changed, awareness, and so on. So look out for us if you're on our list. You know, we'll be sharing another survey hopefully in another month or two to be able to continue to collect the data and see how people are how the needle is moving, if you will. And
That's
thank you so much to Dignity of Children for hosting us, Dr. Toledo. It's been a wonderful time working with you on the survey as well as on this webinar. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for all of you for giving us a great contribution in what to think moving forward. I think it was a very well, informative session. Thank you,
you.
everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Yes,
Thank you.
live on
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us.
and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.